I only have a web browser, which is how I read email, and a couple of terminal windows open.
Starlink. I'm not always a fan of Elon Musk's hyperbolic marketing, but what Starlink is doing is exactly as cool and important as he says it is.
So I'm walking to the corner store the other day, and this homeless guy jumps out in front of me, and this dude can barely stand. He's like wobbling, and I think he was drunk or something, and he's talking trash. He's muttering stuff to me. He's like, man, f*** you in your hot showers.
Investment. And the return on investment for an attack like this is much higher because you can target multiple ATMs without leaving your house.
And they can react accordingly. They've also got the whole bot river warded, and notice how Showmaker is playing towards the bot side because that's where...
Hey, Vsauce! Michael here.
One.
Is this video a weapon?
Absolutely.
What? So I just made a weapon?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, well, if it can help folks understand, number one, if it can deter those that would do us harm, it's a hell of a weapon. Really? And if it can help those who are working this understand it a little better, support it a little better, it's a heck of a weapon. So yeah, I guess you could almost say that. It's pretty, that's why you're doing this. You're pretty clever with these analogies here. Yeah.
The Internet, a vast interconnected network of computers around the world, serving digital information at the speed of light. With every passing second, 466 terabits of digital information are being transmitted across nations. But how did we get here? When did it all start? Well, let's take a step back. No. Further back.
The telephone jack from the telecom socket and plug it into this box here, the modem.
Even more.
Research now going on will someday permit a network user to log in.
Well, I believe we need to go to the beginning. On July 27, 1866, in Newfoundland, Canada, the first ever telegram was transmitted overseas to announce a peace treaty between Austria and Prussia. A message that would take almost some months to reach from Europe to America was transmitted in less than 2 minutes. The world of telecommunications was changing and the world was shrinking. Only a decade later, Alexander Graham Bell had established the first long-distance phone call, and cities all over the world were installing telephone lines over their heads in order to connect thousands of services and people together. But how did we go from simple dots and dashes and voices over telephone speakers to watching a video on YouTube? Well, in order to answer that question, we need to go to the person who started it all.
Hello, I'm Claude Shannon, a mathematician here at the Bell Telephone Laboratory.
Born in Michigan on April 30th, 1916, Claude Elwood Shannon was an American mathematician and electrical engineer who created the foundations for digital circuit applications of Boolean algebra in his most famous published paper, A Mathematical Theory of Communication, which set the foundations for the information theory that would evolve into powerful computing systems in the world of digital information. From the massive computers that were housed in MIT to the creation of the Unix operating system at Bell Laboratories in 1973, a system whose core kernel is still present in the smartphones that people carry around in their pockets. Claude Shannon died on the 24th of February 2001, exactly 6 months before the release of Windows XP. Throughout his life, he managed to see the creation of the personal computer, game consoles, cell phones, compact discs, faxes, laptops, dozens of programming languages, and even the creation of the internet. Even back then, the idea of connecting one computer to another was nothing new. Research and development teams of engineers and scientists were trying to figure out a way for two-way communication between computing systems. Enter the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, a research and development agency in America that was the first to establish wide area packet switching network with distributed control and one of the first networks to implement the TCP/IP protocol suite. That network was named ARPANET. The protocols to establish communication and the hardware to support it already existed since the 1950s, and the only thing they needed to figure out back then was an efficient and effective way to connect multiple computers across long distances. The first solution would revolve around the idea to create a new network of cables that connected computers with each other, which would have been very costly. And the second idea was to use an already existing system that was used for communication across long distances and modify it to transmit digital information. Such a system already existed, and it was called the telephone.
Operator. Wrong number.
However, telephone lines were then used to transmit analog electrical signals and not digital information. So in order for communication to be established, they needed to create a device that had the ability to encode the digital information exported by computers into analog sound in order to be transmitted to the telephone lines, and in reverse, decode sound that was coming in from a telephone line into digital information that a computer could understand. That device was called a modulator-demodulator, or as we all know it today, modem. In the coming decades, thousands of computers were deployed running dedicated servers, hosting services that could be accessed by millions of people all over the world through telephone lines. The world had international access to worldwide news, multimedia sharing, messaging via emails, and playing video games with people overseas. And the speeds were abysmal. But back in the day, information transfer speeds were very slow, but that's also because the amount of information was very small. People didn't mind that an image on an old Windows 95 machine would take almost a minute to load because there wasn't much that needed to be shown either way. However, as time went by and data was increasing in size, so too was the speed of the internet. Broadband DSL and even later on fiber connections made speeds reach insane limits in the classes of tens of gigabits per second. Such bandwidths are slowly making their way in our homes, paving the way for incredible applications, from streaming movies to our TV, real-time long-distance video calls and transferring files over the internet. It has come a long way from the 56 kbps modem to the Wi-Fi router that is almost present in every household. And the most surprising thing about all these advances is that they only took us less than 30 years. How could this be? How did it take decades to go from Claude Shannon's paper to the first Commodore computers, yet only a few years for AOA to fall, paving the way for DSL and even internet from space? How is it possible that AWS has been in the market for over 19 years and they are already starting to offer services for quantum computing? How could evolution in computers be so fast? Well, because computers are run by electricity, and electricity is fast. The speed of the internet is a bit of a misnomer. Speed is a unit of measuring how much something has moved from point A to point B in a given time. And for digital information traveling through copper cables in the form of electricity, light racing through fiber cables and electromagnetic waves flying through air, the speed of information is the same as the speed of light, or approximately 300,000 kilometers per second. So if the train tracks of information technology and computer science are made out of the fastest thing in the known universe today, it only makes sense that it will continue to evolve with the same speeds. And with newer and newer ways of changing the way we communicate, it seems that digital information has a very bright future. Or does it?
Major so-called ransomware attack is underway worldwide with more than 75,000 attacks reported.
Officers came here preparing for a hostage situation. Several of them got into position. A male came to the front door. As he came to the front door, one of our officers discharged his weapon. That male, 28 years old, was transported.
Time now in secret, like the fucking Manhattan Project of YouTube drama exposed videos.
Many PlayStation and Microsoft Xbox customers are affected by this attack. The hackers bombarding the company's online gaming servers with so many requests, they simply shut down.
Is up, Trauma Alert Nation? I'm your host, Killer Keemstar.
Decide to land that big old cramp like he almost did. He's going to be shooting that all night.
The world of cyberspace has incredible power, and with great power comes great responsibility. From the billions of pieces of information being transferred every second, it is our responsibility to understand which information is to be passed on to future generations and which doesn't. The world of digital information is changing, and so is society with it. We are the sailors of history, and it's our duty to make sure that the sea that we sail on is safe.